The alien doctrine was flawless, a gospel written in the blood of 100 conquered worlds. The principle was elegant, proven. You don't fight a planet, you land on it. Orbital bombardment could shatter continents, but it bred only radioactive hatred and generations of guerrillas. True victory required presence. Occupation broke morale. Boots on the ground, planted firmly on the enemy's sacred soil, ended wars. It was a psychological truth, universal. So, when the silent, matte black armada arrived at Earth, they did not fire a single shot from orbit. They simply landed. Everywhere. Dropships, like a metallic plague of locusts, filled the skies from the sprawl of Shanghai to the savannas of the Serengeti. They landed in wheat fields, on suburban cul-de-sacs, in the heart of Times Square. Alien troops, clad in sleek adaptive armor, marched in perfect, unopposed formations through streets suddenly emptied of vehicles. Their banners, a stark geometric symbol on a field of gray, were raised over capitals and town halls. The process was methodical, serene. The galaxy, watching through various means, expected the familiar script: chaotic human counterattacks, futile heroics, then the gradual crushing weight of despair and submission. America, the presumed military leader, did nothing. No fighter jets scrambled to meet the dropships. No missile batteries lit up the sky. The news networks showed empty podiums. The silence from the Pentagon was absolute. Alien commanders, initially smug, grew uneasy. This was not resistance, it was void. Their troops stood in the eerie quiet of deserted financial districts, their victory feeling hollow, unearned. The first report was dismissed as a technical glitch. A patrol vehicle in the Arizona desert simply stopped, its power core reading as inert.
Then the cascade began. It wasn't an attack, it was a failure. Alien vehicles, powered by flawless zero-point energy cells, ceased functioning. Engineers discovered Earth's ambient moisture, its unique microbial life, its subtle magnetic fluctuations acted as a corrosive on their systems. Fuel, stable across star systems, degraded into sludge within days. Energy weapons misfired, their targeting arrays confused by the planet's dense, electrically noisy atmosphere. A sniper's laser would bend in unexpected ways, hitting a street sign instead of a target. Their strategic tools failed. Satellite maps were subtly wrong, missing new suburbs, showing bridges that no longer existed, failing to chart the labyrinth of old mining tunnels beneath Appalachian towns. Weather predictions, calculated for a standard M-class planet, failed to account for Earth's mercurial systems. A unit in the Sahara would be prepared for 45 degrees C dry heat, only to be immobilized by a freak, brief sandstorm of unprecedented ferocity. Communications lagged, not from jamming, but from the planet's own ionospheric chatter and the sheer, dense spaghetti of hidden human fiber optic lines interfering with clean subspace bands. Earth itself was rejecting them. The aliens had studied human military infrastructure, army bases, satellite networks, power grids. They hadn't studied the deep sedimentary layers of human habitation. The old Roman road still under modern motorways, the forgotten Cold War bunkers, the global network of steam tunnels under universities, the analog landline system, dormant but functional. The planet was a palimpsest, and the aliens could only read the top layer. Their perfect formations broke as they tried to navigate cobblestone streets designed for horses.
Humans did not attack the invaders. They moved around them, a tide flowing past immovable rocks. Cities became cognitive mazes. Street signs were painted over overnight. A clear main road would be blocked by a seemingly accidental building collapse, forcing alien convoys into narrow alleys where their vehicles couldn't turn. In the forests of British Columbia and Siberia, Patrol units would vanish, not ambushed, but consumed. The trails on their maps would disappear, swallowed by undergrowth. Swamps would be where solid ground was charted. The very trees seemed to close in, their canopies blocking all signals. Deserts stretched supply lines until they snapped. A forward operating base in the Gobi would request water purification parts. The convoy sent would be rerouted by a falsified data packet onto a salt flat where it would sink. Replacement parts would arrive, but be for a different model of ship. Locally sourced fuel would be provided by helpful locals, fuel that would gum up engines beyond repair. Every alien position, no matter how strategically chosen, became an isolated island. They were fed bad data, cut from resupply by 1,000 tiny, unfightable cuts. They had air superiority, but their ships couldn't fly. They had orbital oversight, but the planet below was a lie. Weeks passed. The invaders were not defeated in battle. They were still alive, in their fortified camps in city squares, but they were utterly, completely ineffective. They controlled nothing but the dirt under their boots. They were an army of spectators, slowly starving on a planet full of food they couldn't eat, surrounded by a population that simply ignored them. The silence was more demoralizing than any battle cry.
On the 100th day, the alien High Command, receiving reports of systemic entropy from every continent, issued the order, withdrawal. It was unprecedented. There was no victorious enemy to retreat from, only the creeping, inexorable pressure of a world that would not be held. The evacuation was a scramble, a humiliation. Ships that could still fly lifted off from lands they had never truly touched. At a former UN building in Geneva, now a makeshift alien command post, one of their senior generals, his armor dulled by Earth's pollutants, requested a final communication. He stood before a neutral Swiss intermediary. His question was translated, "Why? Your orbital defenses were negligible. Your united militaries could have contested our landing in a grand, honorable battle. Why did you not stop us from landing?" The answer came not from Switzerland, but relayed through a simple audio feed from Washington, D.C. The voice was calm, almost weary. "Because once you land on Earth," it said, "you're fighting the planet too. You're fighting geology and tides. You're fighting bacteria and fungi. You're fighting 10,000 years of humans building, digging, burying, and forgetting. You're fighting every creature that has ever learned to hide or adapt here. Our strategy wasn't to defeat you. It was to let Earth do it." From that day forward, the Galactic Invasion manuals were amended. The Flawless Doctrine now carried an asterisk, a single, non-negotiable rule born from the silent, humiliating lesson of Soul 3. Never land on a human world. The analysts understood too late. Humanity, uniquely paranoid and long-lived in a single volatile biome, had not designed their civilization for efficiency or elegance alone. They had, unconsciously and then consciously, designed it to survive. Every redundant line, every forgotten backup system, every chaotic urban sprawl, every hidden cellar was a layer of immune response. The planet was not just their home, it was their fortress, its very complexity a weapon. To land was to enter a labyrinth where the walls themselves were hostile. Earth, they concluded, was not a planet to be conquered, it was a trap, and humanity, smiling and passive, were merely its keepers.